The unexpected landing. The mountain wind whispered through ancient pine trees, carrying the scent of damp earth and wild vegetation. Renee Martinez adjusted her binoculars, scanning the rugged terrain of the Cascade Mountain Research Station. Her weathered hands, tanned from years of fieldwork, gripped the high-powered optical equipment with practiced ease. As a wildlife biologist specializing in remote ecosystem studies, Renee had chosen this isolated location for its pristine wilderness and minimal human interference. Her research station, a modest prefabricated structure nestled between towering evergreens, was her sanctuary, a place where she could study the intricate relationships between mountain wildlife without constant human disruption. The late afternoon sunlight filtered through the forest canopy, casting long shadows across the rocky landscape. Renee was about to pack up her daily observation equipment when a sudden disturbance caught her attention. A high-pitched whine, unlike anything she'd heard before, cut through the natural mountain sounds. Her military veteran instincts, inherited from her father, a former Special Forces operative, immediately heightened her senses. Something was entering the atmosphere at an extraordinary speed, leaving a faint trail of ionized particles in its wake. "That's not a meteor," Renee muttered to herself, reaching for her satellite communication device. Before she could activate it, a brilliant flash of light erupted from behind a distant ridge, accompanied by a thunderous crash that sent vibrations through the ground. Trees splintered. A column of smoke began to rise in the distance. Renee's professional curiosity battled with her survival instincts. Years of scientific training had taught her to approach the unknown methodically, while her wilderness survival skills warned her to be cautious. After a moment's hesitation, she grabbed her emergency kit, a compact bag containing first aid supplies, communication equipment, and basic survival gear, and began making her way toward the crash site. The trek was challenging. Dense underbrush and uneven terrain made progress slow. Renee moved with the calculated precision of someone intimately familiar with wilderness navigation. Each step was deliberate, her senses alert for any signs of danger or unexpected movement. As she approached the crash site, the smell of burning vegetation and something metallic, almost ozone-like, grew stronger. Through the trees, she could now see a clearing where massive trees had been knocked down, creating a violent path of destruction. At the center of the devastation sat a craft that defied her understanding of technology. Its surface seemed to shimmer and change color subtly, reflecting the surrounding forest in ways that seemed to bend light itself. It was sleek, approximately the size of a small recreational vehicle, but its design suggested something far more advanced than any human-made vehicle. Renee froze, her scientific mind racing. FirstContact protocols. Documentation. Observation. 1,000 thoughts competed for attention in her mind. Suddenly, a panel on the craft's side slid open with a soft, almost liquid-like motion. Renee ducked behind a fallen tree, her breathing controlled, watching intently. Two figures emerged, moving with a grace that suggested they were not bound by the same gravitational constraints as humans. They were humanoid but distinctly alien, their skin a pale lavender, with subtle luminescent patterns that seemed to pulse like bioluminescent creatures. The taller of the two spoke first, her voice carrying a musical quality that seemed to resonate beyond mere sound. Structural integrity at 43%. Primary navigation systems compromised. Her companion, shorter but with a more dynamic posture, responded in a language that sounded like wind chimes. Proximity scan indicates indigenous intelligent life. Potential assistance scenario. Renee's heart raced. She was witnessing something unprecedented, a moment that could change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. Cultural discoveries. The tension in the clearing was palpable. Renee remained partially concealed, her scientific training warring with an overwhelming sense of curiosity. The two aliens seemed unaware of her presence, focused on their immediate situation. The taller alien, whom Renee would later learn was named Kira, began systematically examining the crash site. Her movements were methodical, almost military in precision. Her companion, Zara, appeared more animated, her attention drawn to the surrounding environment with wide-eyed wonder. Zara's hand reached out, touching a nearby pine branch. A soft glow emanated from her fingertips, causing the branch to momentarily shimmer with an iridescent light. "Fascinating," she murmured, her voice carrying a mixture of scientific curiosity and childlike excitement. Kira's response was swift and measured. "Focus, Zara. We need to assess our survival parameters and potential communication strategies." Renee knew she had to make a decision. Her years of field research had taught her that unexpected encounters often required bold action. Taking a deep breath, she stood up, making sure to move slowly and keep her hands visible. "Hello," she called out, her voice steady but friendly. The reaction was instantaneous. Kira spun with lightning-fast reflexes, a device materializing in her hand that looked like a cross between a scanner and a weapon. Zara, by contrast, seemed more intrigued than threatened. "I'm Renee Martinez," she continued, taking a careful step forward. "I'm a wildlife biologist working in this research station. Are you injured?" The universal translator technology embedded in their communication systems worked remarkably. Kira's initial defensive posture softened slightly, though her eyes remained alert. "We are operational," she responded. "Minor structural damage to our research vessel." Zara, unable to contain her excitement, stepped forward. A human. Actual FirstContact protocol in action. Her enthusiasm was infectious, a stark contrast to Kira's calculated approach. Renee couldn't help but smile. "You're researchers?" The question hung in the air, an invitation for dialogue. Kira nodded, her lavender skin catching the fading sunlight. "Xenoanthropological studies. We were conducting a long-range observational mission when our navigation systems were compromised by an unexpected gravitational anomaly." In simpler terms, Zara interjected, "We got lost and crashed." The tension began to dissipate. Renee's research station wasn't far, and the approaching mountain night would soon make outdoor survival challenging. "Would you like to come back to my research station?" she offered. "We can assess the damage to your vessel and discuss your situation." Kira looked hesitant, but Zara was already nodding enthusiastically. "Observational opportunity," she exclaimed, earning a stern look from her companion. The walk to the research station became an impromptu cultural exchange. Zara bombarded Renee with questions about Earth's ecosystem, human behavior, and the concept of isolated research stations. Kira remained more reserved, her scanning device occasionally sweeping the surrounding area. "Your planet's biodiversity is remarkable," Zara commented, stopping to examine a cluster of wildflowers. "The complexity of your ecosystem suggests an intricate evolutionary process far more nuanced than our initial predictive models." Renee found herself both amused and impressed. "And what ecosystem do you come from?" she asked. Kira, who had been silent, finally spoke. "A binary star system with significantly different environmental conditions. Our home world has minimal organic diversity compared to Earth." The research station was a marvel of modern scientific design, compact, efficient, but equipped with advanced technology. Solar panels, satellite communication systems, and a comprehensive environmental monitoring setup spoke to Renee's commitment to her work. As they entered, Zara's reactions were nothing short of pure wonder. She touched everything, computer screens, research equipment, even the coffee maker, with unbridled curiosity. "Each object tells a story," she murmured. "A narrative of human innovation." Kira's approach was more analytical. She began running diagnostics on her damaged communication device, occasionally glancing at Renee's scientific equipment with professional interest. "You're not concerned about being discovered?" Kira asked, her tone a mix of professional inquiry and subtle challenge. Renee shrugged. "This area is remote. My research requires minimal human interaction. And frankly, who would believe a story about two alien researchers in the Cascade Mountains? Zara laughed, a sound that seemed to dance between musical tones and electronic harmonics. She has a point, Kira. Probability of immediate discovery is minimal. As night fell, an unspoken agreement formed. The aliens would stay, at least temporarily, while they assessed their situation and repaired their vessel. But beneath the scientific curiosity and careful negotiations, something more profound was emerging, a connection that transcended species, a shared passion for understanding the unknown. Little did they know, their encounter was about to become far more complicated than any of them could have anticipated. Survival and secrets. The mountain night settled around the research station like a thick, silent blanket. Inside, an uneasy alliance was forming between Renee Martinez and her unexpected alien guests, Kira and Zara. Renee's communication systems began picking up unusual activity around 2:37 a.m. A series of encrypted radio signals, military-grade communication patterns that stood out against the typically quiet mountain frequencies. Something was moving in the surrounding wilderness. "We have company," she whispered, her hand already reaching for a compact emergency communication device. Kira was instantly alert, her lavender skin shifting to a more muted tone that seemed to blend with the shadows of the research station. "Detection protocols suggest military reconnaissance," she said, her voice a low, controlled whisper. Zara's earlier enthusiasm had vanished, replaced by a tense, focused demeanor. "Our vessel's energy signature," she muttered, "it might have triggered tracking systems." Renee's mind raced. Her father's military training hadn't just been about combat, it was about survival, about thinking several steps ahead. "We need to create a diversion," she said, pulling out a series of specialized environmental monitoring devices. The plan came together quickly. Kira would help modify the scientific equipment to create false thermal and energy signatures. Zara would use her advanced scanning technology to map potential escape routes through the dense mountain terrain. Outside, the first signs of the reconnaissance team became visible. Thermal drones swept the landscape, their infrared sensors cutting through the darkness like mechanical predators. Ground vehicles, specially modified for mountain terrain, began moving slowly along the forest's edge. "They're systematic," Kira observed, her fingers dancing across Renee's computer systems. "Military-grade search and containment protocol." Renee knew exactly what was happening. This wasn't a standard scientific investigation, this was a containment operation. Someone had detected something they weren't supposed to see. "We need to split up," Renee said, her voice calm but urgent. "If they capture all of us, the chances of understanding increase. If we separate, at least one of us might escape with the information." Zara looked horrified. "Separation goes against all our research protocols," she protested. Kira, however, was already preparing. She began transferring critical data from their damaged vessel into compact, almost invisible storage units. "Survival takes precedence over protocol," she said firmly. The next few hours became a complex dance of survival and misdirection. Renee used her extensive knowledge of the mountain terrain to create false trails. Ancient tracking techniques, covering tracks, using natural terrain to break thermal signatures, combined with the aliens' advanced technology created a multi-layered deception. Zara's most remarkable contribution was a sophisticated holographic projection system. By manipulating local environmental data, they created multiple phantom heat signatures, sending the reconnaissance teams chasing ghosts through the dense forest. "Impressive," Kira muttered, watching a thermal drone veer off course, completely misled by their technological illusion. But their luck couldn't hold forever. As dawn approached, a direct confrontation became inevitable. A specialized military team, clearly not standard ground forces, began closing in. Their equipment was too advanced, their movement too precise to be a random research team. "They're not just looking for us," Renee realized. They're looking for something specific. Kira's expression hardened. Our vessel carried research data that certain factions might consider destabilizing. The revelation hung in the air. What could be so important that it would trigger such an intense response? Zara, typically the more emotional of the two, became surprisingly analytical. Our research challenges several fundamental assumptions about interstellar communication and cultural development, she explained. Some might consider such information a threat to existing power structures. Their conversation was interrupted by the unmistakable sound of specialized tracking equipment, something far more advanced than standard military gear. We have approximately 17 minutes before direct contact, Kira announced, her internal systems providing precise calculation. Renee's research station transformed into a strategic command center. Scientific equipment became camouflage. Communication systems were reconfigured to create electronic ghosts and false signals. The mountain itself seemed to conspire with them. Dense fog rolled in, obscuring thermal signatures. A light rain began, further complicating tracking efforts. As the reconnaissance team drew closer, an unspoken bond formed between the human and the two aliens. They weren't just surviving, they were protecting something far more important than their individual safety. Whatever happens, Renee said, checking a specialized rifle, a memento from her father's military days, we don't get separated. Kira nodded, a device materializing in her hand that seemed to combine scanning and defensive capabilities. Zara, typically the most emotional, now radiated a calm, focused energy. The mountain held its breath. The first signs of the approaching team became visible, shadows moving with practiced precision through the morning mist. Their survival would depend on cunning, technology, and an unprecedented collaboration between species. Bridge between worlds. The mountain morning dissolved into a complex battlefield of technological deception and human survival. Renee, Kira, and Zara transformed the research station into an impromptu defensive position, their differences melting away in the face of a common threat. They're using quantum-enhanced tracking systems, Kira announced, her fingers flying across Renee's modified communication equipment. Traditional concealment techniques will be insufficient. Zara had already begun implementing a multi-layered camouflage protocol. Her alien technology created a subtle energy field that distorted electromagnetic signatures, making their location nearly impossible to pinpoint precisely. Renee's military background proved crucial. She understood terrain, tactical positioning, and the psychology of search and capture teams. They'll expect us to run, she said, mapping out potential escape routes. Instead, we're going to make them work for every inch. The first reconnaissance drone swept overhead, a sleek, almost silent machine that seemed more like a predatory bird than a piece of technology. Its advanced sensors cut through the morning mist, searching for any hint of their presence. Thermal suppression at 82%, Zara reported, her voice a mixture of scientific precision and underlying tension. But they're using multispectrum tracking. We can't maintain this indefinitely. Kira's attention was split between defensive preparations and analyzing the data they carried. The information we're protecting could fundamentally alter humanity's understanding of interstellar dynamics, she explained to Renee. It's not just about our research, it's about preventing potential conflict. Renee understood more than the aliens realized. Her years of scientific research had taught her that knowledge was both a weapon and a bridge. Tell me, she said, what makes this information so dangerous? The story began to unfold, a complex narrative of interstellar communication, cultural misunderstandings, and potential existential threats that humanity wasn't yet prepared to comprehend. Outside, the reconnaissance team began their systematic approach. Specialized vehicles with advanced tracking equipment moved slowly through the forest. These weren't standard military personnel, they moved with a precision that suggested a much more specialized operation. Government black ops, Renee muttered, recognizing the tactical approach. probably from a specialized research division most people don't know exists. Zara's holographic systems continued to create false signatures, sending the team chasing phantom heat traces through the dense mountain terrain. It was a delicate game of technological cat and mouse. "We need a communication plan," Kira said, her analytical mind working rapidly. "A way to potentially negotiate or at least create a temporary standoff." Renee pulled out an encrypted communication device, a relic from her father's Special Forces days. "I might have something," she said, revealing a series of specialized communication protocols that could potentially pierce their advanced tracking systems. The next hours became a complex dance of survival and strategy. They used the research station's scientific equipment to create multi-layered defensive systems. Zara's alien technology merged with Renee's sophisticated tracking systems, creating a defense network that was greater than the sum of its parts. "They're going to breach our first line of defense within the next 43 minutes, Kira calculated, her internal systems providing precise timing. Renee's plan began to take shape. Instead of pure defense, they would create a controlled information release, just enough to make the reconnaissance team reconsider their approach. "We need them to understand," she explained, "that capturing us would create more problems than solutions." Zara began preparing a specialized data package, a carefully curated collection of research findings that would intrigue without fully revealing their most critical discoveries. It was a scientific Trojan horse, designed to redirect rather than confront. The mountain seemed to hold its breath. The sophisticated reconnaissance team drew closer, their technology cutting through natural camouflage like a knife. "Proximity alert," Kira announced. "First ground team approaching from the northwestern quadrant." Renee checked her equipment, a combination of scientific tools and defensive technology that represented years of careful preparation. Her research station was more than a scientific outpost, it was a fortress of knowledge. "Whatever happens," she said to her alien companions, "we stay together." Kira and Zara exchanged a look that transcended their alien origins, a moment of unified purpose that spoke to something deeper than species or mission. The first signs of direct contact were moments away. Their survival, and the critical information they protected, would depend on a delicate balance of technology, strategy, and unprecedented cooperation. The mountain waited, silent and expectant. Transformation. The mountain seemed to hold its breath, suspended between potential destruction and an unprecedented moment of understanding. Renee, Kira, and Zara stood united, their differences of species and origin dissolving in the face of a common challenge. The first wave of the reconnaissance team breached the outer perimeter of the research station with surgical precision. Specialized equipment cut through the holographic defenses Zara had meticulously constructed. Advanced thermal scanners probed the area, fighting against the complex masking technologies. "Final defensive protocol initiated," Kira announced, her voice calm despite the mounting tension. Renee's hand moved to a specialized communication device, a piece of equipment that bridged military-grade encryption with scientific communication protocols. "We're not going down without presenting our case," she muttered. The team leader, a tall woman with eyes that suggested years of specialized training, approached the research station. Her equipment was unlike anything Renee had seen, a hybrid of military and scientific technology that spoke to a world far more complex than standard government operations. "Dr. Martinez," the team leader's voice crackled through an encrypted channel, "you're requested to stand down and prepare for immediate debriefing." Zara's alien technology began to pulse, not as a weapon, but as a communication interface. Complex data streams began to flow, creating a holographic representation of their research findings. "We offer information," Kira translated, "not confrontation." The holographic display revealed a stunning narrative. Their research wasn't just about Earth or their own civilization, it was about a complex network of interstellar communication that humanity had barely begun to comprehend. Images of distant star systems, intricate communication patterns, and potential evolutionary paths for intelligent life cascaded through the air. The team leader, whose name tag read Commander Elena Rodriguez, hesitated. Her specialized training wore with an overwhelming scientific curiosity. "This is beyond classification," Rodriguez muttered, her hand hovering near her communication device. Renee seized the moment. "We're not a threat," she said firmly. "We're an opportunity." The next hour became a delicate negotiation. Zara's scientific enthusiasm, Kira's analytical precision, and Renee's diplomatic approach created a compelling narrative. They weren't invaders or threats, they were researchers seeking understanding. The Mountain Research Station transformed into an impromptu diplomatic center. Specialized communication protocols were established. The reconnaissance team's initial hostile approach gave way to scientific curiosity. "The implications are staggering," Rodriguez admitted, reviewing the data streams. "This changes everything we understand about potential extraterrestrial communication." Zara couldn't contain her excitement. "Communication is not about conquest," she explained, "but about understanding. Each civilization represents a unique perspective in the universal dialogue." As morning transformed into afternoon, the initial threat of capture dissolved. The reconnaissance team's mission shifted from containment to preservation. The research Kira and Zara carried represented a breakthrough that could reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Renee watched the transformation with a mixture of scientific wonder and personal triumph. Her isolated research station had become the site of potentially the most significant first contact in human history. "We'll need to establish a specialized research protocol," Rodriguez said, her military precision now tempered with scientific enthusiasm. "This can't be a standard government operation." Kira nodded, her alien features reflecting a complex emotional landscape. "Transparency is crucial. Humanity must understand this is a collaborative discovery, not a potential threat." By sunset, the mountain had witnessed a transformation. What began as a potential conflict had become an opportunity for unprecedented understanding. The research station, once Renee's private sanctuary, now represented a bridge between worlds. Zara's final observation captured the essence of their journey. "First contact is never about technology," she said, looking out over the mountain landscape. "It's about the willingness to listen, to understand, to grow." As night fell, a new chapter in human-alien relations began. Not with conflict, but with curiosity. Not with fear, but with hope. The mountain kept its secrets, bearing witness to a moment that would change everything.